Good morning, everybody. I've got my nice cup of tea for our, 70 something degrees outside already day. It's such a chilly and blustery day here in Honolulu, Hawaii. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm very excited. I've been chatting with several of you in the chat. And Craig asked in the live chat for folks' goals, because that's part of what this is about, right? Is your goals and how we can help facilitate those goals with these live streams, of course. And if you're an Artist Work student too, hopefully we can help you fulfill those goals doing video exchanges with you. Excuse me. And there have been some really good ones. So I'm super excited getting to see all of these different goals and things that are listed in the chat. And wow, people from all over, welcome everybody from all around the world. I think that's one of the things that I love the most about our live streams is getting to see just like folks from Nova Scotia, Germany, the Netherlands, the UK, all over the continental United States, and even some folks from Japan. So it's such an honor to be able to have you joining us, and that you're taking time out of your day or early morning to hang out with us. And we really, really appreciate it, and we really appreciate you. So thank you so very, very much.
Well, not only that, but you guys are also here a little bit early for the kind of sound check and Q&A. So that means, again, if you have certain goals, I'll put the camera on me for a second.
Yes.
Hi. If you have some goals for 2023, but you're not quite sure how to reach them, let us know in the live chat. We're actually going to spend the next 10 minutes or so trying to help you guys fine-tune your own personal goals. And again, the big thing about today, the whole theme of the day is talking about some of the exercises and warm-ups that allowed us to reach some of our goals, and talk about some of our short-term goals versus our long-term goals at different points in our career as well, whether we were first starting out or first starting to perform or first starting to teach workshops, first starting to, so we have a whole bunch of great things to talk about today, and I'm so glad that you guys are here with us. And again, because you're here for the live stream itself, you guys can write in the live chat and we'll be able to kind of see where things take us. But if you are joining us for the replay, aloha, welcome. And again, this will be up pretty much forever, so you can always rewatch the live stream.
And you can comment what your goals are. You can write in the comments and we'll reply. We do reply. So
yeah, but it is great to have you guys here. Happy New Year again. Happy New Year. I'm excited.
And then one person had said, Rudy, I'm looking at you. My goal is to play like Herboto Jr. Well, you know what I say to that? Take lessons from Herboto Jr. because he is accepting students, and if you want to learn to play like someone, learn from him, learn from that person, and he's available. So you could always shoot him an email, and he does answer. So if that's your goal, talk to the man himself. He is available. Now, one person had mentioned that they want to work on practical scales and weird chords because they have issues with their left hand, with it being shaky, etc. And so we're actually going to go over some of that stuff today, like some warm-up stretches and things. And then we also are going to go over I think we're actually going to talk about a couple different scale patterns today as well. So we've got you covered for some of that.
And we see timing and tempo as things to improve on, which we'll talk about today for sure.
More ukulele theory I also saw, and memorization.
Oh, this is fantastic. We're going to hit a lot of these today. This is great. And I do want to shout out a quick shout out to Larry from Ukulele Project Hawaii, who's in the live chat right now. We've been meaning to get together with him soon. He's been doing so much. Him and his family have been doing so much for the keiki here in Hawaii with ukulele, and we gotta connect. And definitely check out some of the videos. They've done some really fun things over the Christmas break.
Yes.
But Larry, keep up the great work, man.
I love it. Yes, I want to be able to play along without seeing a chord chart. That's a fantastic goal.
That is a great goal.
And a lot of it kind of also depends on the music.
Oh my God, Kala'e in the chat. I'm at Kala'e
What?
Aloha. I've been meaning to text you from last night.
We saw you last night.
Kala'e on the TV singing the national anthem.
Yes, they sounded
These
fantastic.
guys sounded awesome.
Yes.
So awesome.
That's so cool. Thanks for joining us today, Kala'e.
And
It's so
with
good to see you.
Kala'e too, one of our goals that we're going to mention, our own personal goals,
Yes.
is to actually play more with others. Just have more people come over and play with us and
Yeah,
enjoy
and it
the
not be
music
work related.
and-
We're
yeah,
just gonna jam
Yes.
because
And-
we miss that. So we just want to have people over, have big potluck, and just be like, let's play in the backyard.
But KCAMAR is Kala'e's YouTube handle. You see in their live chat right now.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely go and subscribe to his channel because there's going to be a ton of great music.
And we featured him in last year's backyard concert. He, I can't remember what number concert he was, but it was so good. And he made everyone cry with the song about moms, the song to the moms. And then he's actually going to be joining us in March. So our ukulele retreat Hawaii, he's going to be one of the jam leaders actually, where he's going to come and show you Hawaiian style jam, which is going to be those of you that are joining us and your goal is to be able to like listen and play with no chart. That's going to be his class.
Yeah,
So-
again, one of our big goals for the events that we host is to help start connecting more Hawaii artists with like the ukulele community all around the world. And Kala'e and Mika we've been working with recently. They're ready. They're ready to travel. They're ready to share. It's incredible. So definitely check out their music and let your local ukulele festivals know. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah. And you guys get to see Mika. He's going to be at the Allegheny Ukulele Festival.
Yes.
Allegheny. I feel like he's going to be at others, but we can't say.
Yeah, we can't say anything.
But just keep your eyes peeled on Mika Kane.
Bar chords. We'll talk about bar chords and a couple of things to help improve on that and make it more consistent.
Yeah.
Oh, this is Tammy moved to Hawaii. Yes, the potlucks are to die for. Like, oh my gosh.
The thing I like about potlucks here is it's all, I feel like it's always like random. Like you'll have the person that brings like the sushi platter and then the Chinese food and then the Vietnamese food and then the Thai food. Like you get like all of the food from all of the cultures and it's really nice.
Oh, Melinda has a great goal about to transition from beginner to the next level. We'll definitely talk about that today as well. This is fantastic. Some great goals in there.
And actually what Melinda's asking about too has a lot to do with the articles, the series we're writing for Ukulele Magazine. Part 1, it's called Making the Leap, going from beginner to intermediate. And part 1 was in last issue, and then the second part's in this one. We actually just sent them the video lesson because we write the article, but then there's a video lesson that goes with it. So definitely check that out if you haven't already, because I love the stuff that Ukulele Magazine does. They're really fantastic to work with.
Kenneth will definitely be doing a lot more chord melody arranging this year for our live streams as well. And with that said too, I mean, again, one of the things that has been important to us is to keep these live streams free, to be able to watch and enjoy. We show everything in the packets on screen, but if you do want your own copy and you do want to help support these events, please, you can purchase your own packet at craigandsarah.com/live. We've been so busy, so it's been nice to still keep these going once a month. It's been a lot of fun. But the big news actually is Cameron just got accepted to preschool.
Woohoo!
So he'll be starting maybe during the summer, but at least in August.
Yeah.
So we have like this huge secret list of things that we haven't had time to do quite yet. But now we will actually have
some like
time to follow through. And
8 a.m. to 2 o'clock. I'll actually have like work time because usually it's me watching Cam the bulk of the day and getting him ready for things like preschool. So it's been really wonderful and I'm so incredibly grateful because we haven't missed a moment, which has been really nice. But I am excited about the work and the playing. The we can do now that he's going to be out of the house for a chunk of time, which will be fun.
Yes, and then there's definitely
Oh.
something big in the works for 2024 that we can't mention yet. But
Now, kind of going over some housekeeping things real quick. Next month's live stream, we are going to have a very, very special guest. I am so excited about this because we haven't had a chance to actually see these people in person in at least 4 years. And so I can't wait to see them. They're going to be here in Hawaii. Aaron Kime and Nicole Kime are going to be, with Henry, of course, their son Henry. Aaron and Nicole Kime will be here. We are going to have Aaron Kime here in studio teaching a fingerstyle workshop. That's going to be February 18th. So mark your calendars. February 18th. Of course, we'll send it to you in our email blast. But he's already sent me some of the workshop material. It's going to be really fun. So fingerstyle ukulele. And then also tomorrow, make sure to join us for the live premiere of Kori Fujimoto and Kale Gamiao. That was a ton of fun to film. And even though it was like a super rainy day that day, we were a bit nervous about filming, but luckily we got lucky and the rain was super light during that time frame. And that's tomorrow, 9 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time. And for that one, we do have giveaways like Hawaiian Host goodies and strings from GHS, CDs from past artists.
maybe a subscription to Artist Works?
Actually, yes, a subscription to Artist Works this time. So please join us for the live premiere and join us in the live chat. That is tomorrow, 9 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time on this same channel. And then let me see what else. Artist Work students, those of you who are joining us that are Artist Work students, here's some stuff for you guys. First of all, we will be recording more theory lessons because right now the theory lessons only take you through major. I've got a minor theory, minor keys lesson coming up, as well as how to read music and how to read lead sheets. All just useful stuff that we're going to be filming hopefully this month and next month, and then it will come into the program as soon as possible. Then there's a 30-day challenge that will be starting February 1st. We've given you a hint about it in our welcome video. So if you haven't logged in a while, log in and watch Craig's welcome video where he talks about that 30-day challenge of helping you work on songs that you already know and love and getting them to like the next level.
I'm actually really excited about that
Yeah.
because even for us, that's something we constantly try to do.
Yeah.
Right? And how can we enhance and embellish a song that's basic or even ones that we just played a
whole lot. And
Yeah.
you're just like, I need to make this new again. Then there is going to be a recital for Artist Works students, but that's going to come later. And then also, we are starting back our monthly Zoom check-ins with our online students. So we weren't able to do it for January just because of how things are laid out in our calendar. But starting in February 5th, Artist Works students, mark your calendar. Go look in the forum under Craig and Sarah's bulletin, and you will see that I have posted the Zoom link and a place for you to ask questions. I see people also asking questions in another spot as well, so I'm trying to gather all of the questions when I see them so that I can make sure we answer everybody when we meet together via Zoom February 5th. That's also 9 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time. We just like being consistent. And then we've got 2 retreats in 2023. The first one, our March retreat, has been sold out for a while. We had like 1 or 2 dropouts, but if you're on the wait list, you are the first ones called. So if you want to be put on that wait list, if anybody else happens to drop out, please go to our website, or actually go to Marian Koleski's website via our website so you can get put on that wait list. And then our Long Beach ukulele retreat. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited about this. We had a meeting with Herb and Brian about sort of the curriculum and what we're going to be teaching. So it's really exciting. This is going to be a very intimate experience where we break you up into smaller groups and make you work on the things we do in the mornings, but making you work on that stuff in real time, like soloing things, rhythmic ideas, chord substitutions. So it's going to be a really, really unique experience. And that we still have spots available, actually. So if you would like to join us in Long Beach, please visit our website, craigandsarah.com/retreat. And you'll get to join us, hopefully, for Long Beach, because that's going to be very special. Is there anything else, Craig?
If if there is something that we didn't touch base today
Mm-hmm.
on your goals for this year, either write in the comments or email us at chimazel@gmail.com. I'll
Mm-hmm.
put it in the chat in a second. Because I actually might do a follow-up video with some of those questions that we haven't been able to get to, because I know there's going to be a lot today, because everyone has different goals and there's going to be a ton of different ways to reach them. But you might be even inspired by some of the things brought up today to think about other ones as well. So again, reach out to us. I'll depending on how many things get unanswered, I'll put together a nice kind of follow-up video and we'll touch base on those as well. Now, before we officially start, one of the things that's hard about, stating goals is sometimes you don't quite know what they are. You just, I want to get better, but I don't necessarily know
Yeah. What do I
those
practice?
steps are, or what that even
Yeah.
means, right? So I'm going to go, and I made a list last night, and I just want to go through this to help maybe inspire some of your own goals. Let me pull this up real quick so I don't forget anything. So when I first started playing out as a performer, I wanted to, get through a song without a song breaking mistake, because mistakes will happen, and that's totally fine. Even Jake will be the first one to tell you that he never played a perfect set. There's always little things that could have been better, or there are tiny mistakes here and there. But that's the beauty of live performance. It's not, you don't want that perfect rendition to sound exactly like the CD, or else you would have just played the CD, right? So, but there are mistakes where, even for us, we sometimes when you start out, you would forget lyrics to an entire song, or you just have that brain fart moment and you just kind of lock up.
Yeah.
So there are some, kind of song breaking mistakes. But so as a performer, again, some of my early goals were getting through a song without those huge mistakes, or getting through a song with all the vocal phrasing and nuances that I wanted. Because again, sometimes when we're so focused on performing, we kind of just go through the motions, and we kind of just it doesn't come out as beautifully and as articulate as we practiced it, right? So not only does the playing have to be there, but if you're a singer, making sure that all the phrases are exactly how you wanted and phrased it in practice, that is incredibly important. And then once you have that one song done, even lyrics memorized as well, right? Even when you have that one song done, then you can work on, okay, maybe a 3-song set, or a half an hour set, or a 45-minute set. But again, we're looking at short-term goals versus long-term goals. And I think last year we actually talked a little bit more about memorizing lyrics and practicing playing and singing at the same time.
Yes, and also you'll notice in your packet, in the packet there's a mahalo letter, which is like the second page. I actually list. Let me go back and look. Yes, I list 2021 and 2022's January live streams, because I recommend going back and watching those, because we talk about different goals that might actually be the goals you are now at. Because we always do a practice and technique thing to start the year, because it's a good way to kind of reset. So yes, last year's we did actually discuss playing and singing at the same time. So I have those hot links in that packet.
Okay, so some other goals that I had, when I first started pushing out, was being able to practice more efficiently. So again, whether you're practicing a song or practicing your scales, there's other things you can add to it. Let's say add in dynamics, so instead of just playing a song all the way through, can you play the song all the way through, but add, different volumes throughout to create a different feel. You can also practice standing in front of a mirror, or record yourself and look back how you're performing. Again, so there's so many little things that you can pile on when you're doing one thing that makes your practicing so much more efficient. Because again, we don't have the time to do every little thing by itself all the time. So the more things you can do at once, the better and more efficient your practice sessions will be. And again, it doesn't have to be a 2 or 3 hour block of practicing. It could be 15 or 20 minutes throughout the day randomly, but hyper focused on just that. I think that's going to be great. And there are some things that you can do while reading the paper or watching the news, whether you're just kind of going through different chord progressions or shapes, or working on your scales. Again, finding time because nothing is going to replace that. You can learn so much by reading a book or watching videos, but unless you put the time in and get that muscle memory down, getting to know how everything feels, that's the kind of stuff that really separates and helps push you to that next level, being way more comfortable with the instrument like it's part of your own body. Other goals that I had starting out were starting to memorize, what chords I would see in a certain key. Like in the key of C, I noticed when I was looking at sheet music, I would always see A minor, F, G, or G7. But things like that, being more aware of what you're playing compared to just almost like sight reading every single time. But again, taking in more information and realizing that there's a bunch of patterns. Let's see. Diversifying your strum patterns. We'll talk a little bit about that today. Muting for me was a big one. Again, I think we brought that up in other workshops, but we'll touch base on that again during my section. I think I'll bring up muting again.
Yeah.
Again, other goals were just going back and making sure that I was playing cleanly, because a lot of times we get caught up in learning songs, and we're not as clean as we think we are when we're actually playing through it. So part of it is don't be afraid to go back and really hone in on things that you can already do, but make them even better. Same thing, but for timing, right? Again, there's some songs that I know that we used to play that we had a tendency to speed up. So it was about going back and ironing those spots out. Some other goals was to be a better backing player, right? So part of that was not do as much fills or solos, but really focus on honing down my rhythm, focus on the movement and chord choices I would do to supplement what Sarah was doing or another player. So things like that, it's being able to be a different part of the band if needed. Again, being able to be more versatile in your playing. Once we started playing professionally, part of it was, one of my goals was to play a really great local venue. And then from there, a bigger venue. And then certain ukulele festivals, and then certain international ukulele festivals. But that was my long-term goals once I started out. And so a lot of what I aimed for was to keep getting to these bigger venues and bigger audiences, just to see if I could do it, mainly, and so part of it was reaching out and making connections and, seeing what I could do to help make those happen. And again, if you're at that point, definitely send us a note if you're interested in that kind of tips as well. Now, one thing that gets forgotten, and something I kind of luckily picked up early on, was no matter how many thousands of hours you practice, if you're on stage, there's someone in between you and the audience, and that is the sound guy and your gear. So part of, 1 year that I had was really focusing on everything that connected from the ukulele or my vocals to the soundboard to the audience. So to me, it was figuring out cables, which cables, why, any kind of electronics like a DI or a direct input box, and why, those kind of things, so that I had not only the control over each element, but I understood how it was being interpreted to the sound guy. I had to learn the phrases that he would need to make sure he was able to produce the sound that I wanted, because there are some sound guys have never done ukulele before, and they tend to panic and skew everything one way.
Treble.
I know.
It needs more treble. No, it doesn't.
So that's a big one. And that one we might do a completely different workshop and invite some guests over and talk about different gear.
Oh, that would be a fun workshop.
Yeah, that I think that we'll do it later.
And the great thing about this is they can plug in all the different things, and then you as the audience can actually hear it.
Yes. So we'll talk about, like, again, which active or
active or passive pickups.
Pickups,
DIs.
Active or passive DIs. We'll talk about different reverb pedals and why, EQ and why that's important.
What's delay versus reverb.
So a lot of great things. But again, the more understanding you have of your sound, the better you're going to be at describing it and honing in that sound as well. It's, we don't always play acoustic. Right? When was the last time you actually saw a pure acoustic set from ukulele from a professional? It usually doesn't happen, because we have to, push that sound to a whole huge venue. And also, microphones and mic control is a whole other thing as well. So mic control is a big one if you're a vocalist. We'll talk about that a little bit later too.
If you're like Aaron and Nicole Kime, they use a microphone for their instruments and how they manipulate how they hold their instrument in order to get louder, softer, etc.
And even if I know some of you out there are also teaching, so part of it was figuring out what I would have wanted to learn and how to break that down. Practicing my workshops with students before actually teaching them at festivals. Focusing on keeping within time.
That's big.
That's a big one, because when you're practicing your workshops, you don't have people asking questions or making time to make sure everyone's getting it. So part of it is practicing how to pad your time so that when you do show up to a festival and you do only have an hour, you have to stick to that hour. So figuring out what's most important. If you do have some time, what are the things you can do? If people aren't understanding one way of teaching, how can you segue that and add a different way? So, a lot of times Sarah and I would have 3 or 4 different versions of each workshop, depending on how we went. A lot of times we would say, oh, this is an advanced workshop, but then we have a lot of beginners that just want to pop in, and so how do we
how do you navigate that?
Without, again, skewing the whole thing to that. So, again, there's so many things for us that we spent time on and wanted to really hone in. And lastly, our goals for this year, the biggest one is to play more, to make more time to create, arrange, and just play more. Part of it is, it was hard with Cameron, raising a now 3-year-old.
Oh my God.
That first couple of years with him, as we knew, we're going to be a lot harder and a lot more time consuming. So with preschool coming up, we were very excited to kind of get back into it. Find more unique ways to connect with you all. That's one of the things that we miss traveling a bunch, is to be able to interact with you guys more. So we are thinking of some really fun ways later this year that we'll introduce. Helping create more opportunities for others, whether the professionals or enthusiasts alike. We do have some things in the pipeline. And again, we do have a really nice list of things that we'll probably start introducing in the next few months about some of the big plans we have. Very, very excited.
Yeah.
But with that said, again, I hope that kind of list of goals help inspired you to think about what's important to you and prioritizing. But we'll kind of get into the meat and potatoes now. I'm going to send you over to Sarah.
For just a little bit. So one person did ask in the chat about, because we did not bring up, we do have a pro model from Ukulele that was just announced. We are super excited about it. And this is all I'm going to say about it, is that I love it. It's very, very easy to play. It feels just like our instruments, because it pretty much...
Yeah, it's actually based on...
Yeah, it's based off of this one. It's the same... top, that rainbow cedar. It's a different rosewood than this one. It's Indian rosewood. Yeah, it's Indian
really
rosewood.
nice.
I think this one is Madagascar rosewood. But the setup, everything else is like all the same on it. Super easy to play. Comes with our strings. And make sure that you use the code Craig and Sarah, and you will get 5% off any Ukulele, including the pro model. So remember that. It's always at the bottom of our email blast too. But use that code. I think you can actually use it online, but if you find you can't, talk to Lena.
I'll do a close-up of the uke real quick.
Okay.
But again, it has that really nice relief in that corner.
Oh, this corner here. You can see it here.
And it has that same hibiscus sound port. The only difference is that
this is a little smaller.
The rosette is a tiny different.
Yeah, the rosette's a little
Craig and Sarah,
different.
we have CNS on the 12th fret. But other than that, it feels and plays exactly like our own custom ukuleles that we've traveled and
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're super. Yeah, it's
You can
very
choose
nice.
whether it comes with our custom high G or low G set as well.
Yes. All right. That's all I'm going to say about that for now. You could learn more.
We'll be doing a lot more demos with them as
Once
soon as we get one in
one.
our hand. And we'll kind of showcase every little inch of it, and it'll be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Yeah. Okay, warm up and stretches. Put your instrument down. Okay. One thing that I think is important that people don't do enough of is stretch. Ukulele is a very physical instrument. Now, I've gone over these stretches in our Artist Works program, and you can find them in the beginner series of the lessons. but we'll go through them. These are stretches that I had to do during physical therapy when I actually could not use my hands. This was like 10 years ago. So I want you to, what you're going to do is just make sure that you're sitting kind of square, that your shoulders are kind of like over your hips. Don't be slouching like this. You want to be sitting up or standing straight. Doesn't matter which arm you start with, because we're going to do the same thing with both, but bring your arm out straight and then very gently take this hand and bring the fingers back until you feel the stretch. Notice that I don't let my elbow bend. It's just nice and straight. I am getting my thumb a little bit. If you find that grabbing your thumb is too painful, just let the thumb relax and just focus on the fingers. For me, I feel this one in here and a little bit in here when I'm doing this, especially if I have the thumb, I feel it a little higher up. You technically should hold it for 30 seconds, but we won't for the sake of time, and just relax. Now let's do your other hand. Bring it straight up. I'll turn to the side slightly, and then very gently bring the hand back. And you just pull back till you feel the stretch. You're not trying to like, how far can I go? Just let it do that. And then relax. Then the next one is arm out. I tend to put my thumb in the center of my hand to ensure that I'm delicate with this. So I'm like that, my hand is out. And then I very gently I sometimes just use 2 fingers. And then I just bring this down very gently, because you're going to really feel it in your forearm. Oh yeah, try to relax your shoulders. I'm noticing I'm like doing this. Relax your shoulders. Okay, next up, other hand. Again, very gentle. Bring it down till you feel the stretch. And just relax. I find this one isn't as tight as my fretting hand. And then you can relax.
I wonder if we could entice Kanalea to allow us to give away one of our Pro Series models. We'll see.
We'll see. I feel like that's asking them a lot. We probably can't ask them for anything else that year. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see if we can figure it out. Because I actually would love to be able to give one away. I think that would be amazing. Okay. Next, we're going to actually make a fist, but a gentle fist. I don't want to see whites of knuckles. Just very gentle, just closing your hand. And then you're going to bring your wrist, you're going to bring that down. Notice again, I'm actually very gently, I have a finger here and a finger here. And the reason I do that is so that I don't grab this and yank it down. I'm forcing myself to be very gentle when I do this. Sorry, this is actually straight for me if I do this. This one I feel like you really feel it here, you really feel it here. And I actually there's a tiny bit under that I also feel too. Ooh, it's so tight. I don't stretch enough. And then relax. Let's move to your other hand. Gently close your hand. And then very gently bring that down. There we go. It's funny, this one I feel really tight here. And then relax. There are a few other stretches that we do teach on Artist Works. Also, Ukulele Underground has some great stretches as well, that Aldrine goes through and teaches. So if you are a UU member, definitely find those, because those are actually, it's very excellent. I love that they include stretches too. So that's just how we're going to start off. Because remember, playing ukulele is a very physical thing. You're doing a lot and you only have one set of hands. And I know some of you out there have issues either with arthritis or MS, or there's a myriad of things that can go wrong with our hands. Essential tremors is, we have a student that has that as well. So all of these kinds of things I think are really, really helpful. In our past live streams, we talk about a couple different warm-ups, but I'm actually going to bring it back to Craig because he wanted to go over some strumming warm-up things to kind of help you get that strumming hand ready to go. So I'm going to pass it back to Craig, and then let me know if you want me to write stuff, Craig.
I think I'm fine for now. If you can help with the chat, and there's a lot of great things going on. Now let me pull up the iPad. Okay. And the question really quick about the thinness of our neck. So it's still that nice wide or wider kind of neck this way, but our setup, see how thin this part is?
Yeah.
That's it. It's so beautiful.
It makes it so easy to play.
It makes a really, really big difference. Okay, so we have, I'm gonna call this my penny exercise. So what you can do is on a piece of paper, you can write that chart below 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and with the down and ups and a blank square. A lot of times, we actually created this exercise for a friend, a student in San Diego. He was having some trouble with his timing and not really understanding that we want to keep that right hand moving. So one of the things that we created was this kind of penny chart so that we can create ways of kind of doing these different strums and having a visual kind of cue for it. So what those green dots represent are pennies that you can put anywhere in those blocks. The big thing to remember is that we want that right hand to consistently go down and up, even if we're not actually strumming it. So for example, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, if I was to place those green dots, let's say for that typical strum, it would sound, I'm going to hold a C chord for now, but it would sound like this, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So what I want you to do when you practice this is still count out loud. Because again, we're trying to hone in on our inner metronome. But the key is, again, keeping that right hand going. Because if I was to stop my right hand and still hit those green dots, it would look like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. It's very stiff, and especially because we have to naturally want to get to the other side of those strings before hitting, let's say, the up on the end of 3. So again, if you're able to keep that right hand going, this is going to be that metronome that we keep the entire time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Oh, I missed the 4. That's okay. And here's the great thing about what I just did. Even if I was to miss a string or accidentally hit a string that's not in that pattern, it's going to sound fine. Watch this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and. Even though I've made a mistake here or there, because my right hand is consistently moving within that time frame, it's going to sound fine. Because again, it's still within that metronome. If I was to kind of stop and try to catch up, that's when everything starts to fall apart. So again, 99% of the time we have that right hand consistently moving for these kinds of strums. Now, let's switch that island reggae vibe for a second. So we're gonna miss on the 1 and then hit on the 2 and miss 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Keep that right hand going. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 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 2 and 3 and 4. And even see, even if I'm adding a couple things here and there, it's gonna sound fine. Again, this is, you're never gonna see someone do the exact perfect strum the entire song. I promise you, there's gonna be things that hit or miss, and you'll be fine. Let's try to change it up to only up strums. So for this in C chord, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and you can kind of have that nice bubbly feel, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. And notice how soft that up strum kind of brush stroke is compared to a down. And again, we want to have that diversity in tone. That's why that's how we can get a really nice kind of phrasing with those tones and how it changes from that down and up. Now that last one, 1 4 6, you guys might remember this from another workshop, but if we're to slowly do that, oh, you actually wrote down 1 through 8. That's fine. So if
What did I do? 1 4
that's
6.
okay. So if we were to replace 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and with 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, we could do something like this. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So 1 4 and 6. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So once I speed that up, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So 5 6 7 8. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So again, a nice break of our typical kind of a strum. So the goal is, if you're having some trouble with timing or kind of creating different strum patterns, one of the things that you can do to practice this is to take 2 or 3 pennies, maybe actually 3 or 4, randomly put them on those charts and see if you can kind of mix and match and create your own pattern that way. Again, you might find something that works really, really well, sometimes not so much. But the ones that work really well, take a picture of it or memorize it or write it down somewhere else and have this kind of bag of different strums that you can then take on. Or another thing that you could do with this is if there's a strum pattern that you're hearing in a song, try to count it out and again, use those pennies to help mark where those hits are. This is just a really fabulous way of dialing in and keeping that timing going. So again, the secret is keeping that right hand going. And for those of you who already have pretty decent timing, don't forget, pile on different techniques. Make your practices more efficient. You can add muting and scratching with this. So for example, that typical strum, add a mute after every strum. If you don't know what muting is, it's okay. Don't worry about it. I have a really great live stream on that. You can search for it in our live stream part of our channel. But all it is closing in on those strings to stop them from vibrating. So for the typical strum, you can do a down with a mute, and up you can scratch, and then down, up, scratch, up, down, up. So every time there's a blank spot, you're going to scratch, and after every hit, you're going to mute. So that typical strum is going to sound like this. All of a sudden we have so much more texture, we have all these different nuances, especially in that island reggae vibe where we could do I'm sorry, holding F right now, I just realized. And kind of swinging it a little bit. But again, being able to mix and match all these different things so that you can start applying, again, all these techniques that you've been learning, as well as focusing on things like timing and creating your own strums. What's after that, Sarah?
Practicing with the metronome.
So one of the big things that we had in the chat before we officially started was working on timing and playing with the metronome. So Sarah's going to take this and kind of expand on that element.
So, practicing with a metronome. I'm not going to spend too long on this just because I want us to get to the rest of the workshop, but this is really important. Important enough that we did a whole segment on it last year, and I wanted to bring it up again this year because the metronome, most people, especially when you first start playing ukulele, a lot of people kind of go, I'm scared of this thing. So the metronome is a wonderful thing. It's a friend who happens to always be right all the time, which sometimes is great and is sometimes really annoying. But it's important to try to work on timing, because think of it this way. When you're working on a song and you're strumming chords, you're working on the muscle memory so that you remember where the chords are, right? Well, the same kind of thing is true when you are working with a metronome. Your own internal timing, that muscle memory that you have with your ears and everything, to be able to know if you're in time. You're practicing that. And so in order for you to get better at your timing, practicing with a metronome really they go hand in hand because you need to practice that. So just keep that in mind as you're going through and practicing with a metronome. One thing that you can do is if you have, and I actually have a metronome on my phone, it's free. It's called Pro Metronome. There's a version of it that you can pay for, but I don't need it. It has all this extra bells and whistles and stuff. But for me, if you've never worked with the metronome before, get one or dust yours off, because you probably have one that's been sitting. And then just set it to a slower rhythm. Mine's set on 75. It's very exciting. You can hear it probably through my mic. The first beat is slightly different. Tink, 2, 3, 4. There's a visual aspect too, so if you like looking at it. And then I tend to, if you've never done it before, just tap on the table or on your instrument. 1, 2, 3. Just try to hit the ones. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Once you feel like you can do that consistently, you can add in maybe the 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3. Then add the 3. Here we go. Add the third note. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Once you're confident, and you can add the fourth beat and the fourth beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you're feeling confident about being able to tap to all 4 beats, then maybe try just strumming with no chords. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. And if this feels pretty good, add a chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Add another chord. I'm adding G7. And then back to C. Once you feel like you can actually play along with it without having to think too much about like what your chord change is, then you can try doing a song that you know really well, or even scales that you know. For me, I always like to start slower. You can always speed up. And practicing at the very bottom, I actually wrote something on this that says, practice the fastest that you can cleanly play the hardest part. Okay? If you're playing a song, you know how you play songs and you can speed through the verse and then you get to like the chorus and then you like slow down? You have to play the whole song at the speed you played the chorus, because you don't want to have this speed up, slow down business happening. You want to be able to play consistent time. That's what you're practicing when you're practicing.
And one quick thing
timing.
too about the metronome playing. If you notice, when Sarah started strumming on all 4, she actually played softer.
Yes.
Because a lot of times we forget and we get caught up and we actually strum louder than the metronome.
And then you can't hear it.
Yeah.
And then what's the point? You're talking over your friend. You want your friend to be able to help guide the conversation. So thank you, Craig. That is an excellent thing. So make sure when you're strumming that you strum quieter than the metronome so you can hear it. And then one thing to keep in mind too is that Playing cleanly with a metronome takes time. In fact, there are some songs that I'll go to practice or techniques that I'll go to practice with my metronome, and I will still sound terrible. It's just one of those things where you just have to work with it, and it will come. Now, you can also, I have an area called hidden metronomes. You could play with something like the Beat Buddy or a drum machine or playback tracks, which if you have purchased the Scholar Packet, I actually included a whole bunch of playback tracks in various keys for you. The great thing about all of those things is that technically those are metronomes too. They are keeping time for you, but in the case of a drum machine, it's playing like a cool rhythm for you so that you don't hear just a tick. You get to hear, drums behind you. Playback tracks, it's usually people playing chords, and sometimes there's a drummer and a bass player, so it feels like you're playing with a band. But again, they are playing to a metronome, so they are playing in time. So when you practice with those things, you're also working on your timing, but it's a bit more fun. So I have here, was there something you want to add, Craig?
Oh, no, before you get to the movable major scales.
That's actually next, so go ahead.
Okay, so there are a couple questions about using the mute with the G chord. I'll put this full screen for a second. So holding the G chord, you're already touching 3 strings, so the pinky really only has to get to that G string. The only reason why your pinky cannot get to that G string is if you're holding it out like this, and see how my pinky cannot reach past the E string. So again, it's about keeping that wrist nice and straight, being in that little notch there, having that gap. See a huge gap. My thumb can just hang out on the side right there, but as I close up my G chord and I bring the corner of my hand, see the ball of my pinky, I can bring that a little bit closer, and I still have that perfect G chord shape, but I can add my pinky across all 4 strings. So again, if your pinky is only over here, you just have to rotate this way, and now I can reach that G string. It does take a little practice to get used to that stretch, but it's actually not that bad because we want that home bass to be right there to begin with.
Thank you, Craig. So what I have at the bottom of this is a movable major scale. The reason why we've added this is because many people have asked, I want to be able to do more practical scale work. Well, here's a great one that you can move up and down your fretboard. So let's take a look at it. What I've done is we're starting on the 2nd fret, and Artist Work students, the movable, we do go through a bunch of movable scales in the intermediate lessons. So if you're looking for more scale work, go to our intermediate lesson section and you'll find the major, minor, pentatonic, etc. Okay, your index is in charge of the 2nd, middle is in charge of the 3rd, ring is in charge of 4, and pinky's in charge of the 5th fret. And so you'll see here that when I'm going to play, this is home bass, is that 2nd fret. So I have my index here on that 2nd fret. And then we're going to go, and you're going to use your ring finger. It's very important to be consistent with your fingers on this. So let's go back and forth. Index, ring. Leave your index down. That helps keep you grounded. Now, picking hand, I don't care what you're picking with right now. Just use whatever's comfortable because I'm focusing just on this hand. Let's move to the next string. Again, your 2nd fret is home bass, and then the 3rd fret, and then the 5th fret. Again, let's do that again, the next string. Sounds like Brother John, Brother John. Again. Notice how close my ring finger is sticking around. Like it could potentially play stuff, but it's not, because it's not one of the notes I need. I'm not like keeping it out so I can see my hands. You want to keep all the fingers close by, even if you're not using them right away. Next string, again, home bass is that 2nd fret. And you need to use index, ring, and middle. Sorry, index, ring, and pinky, excuse me. Again. Let's see if we can go through and play the whole scale. So index, ring, next string index, middle, pinky, index, ring, and then pinky. Try backwards. Notice I'm leaving all those fingers down. Here, I even put everyone down when I get there. And then here. Yay! So for me, going through and being able... It can go all the way up. And this is your root note, meaning this is the name of the scale. This note here is a D. And then, so is that. That's your octave. So the great thing about this is if you learn, say, all of the notes on your C string, then you'll be able to move the scale around and I can play G because I know that's a G note. F. So it's a great movable scale that you can use and practice with your metronome. So I think Craig has something he'd like to add to it. So go for it.
So I felt some of your eyes glazing over as soon as we started working on scales. Now, I want to reiterate that there's a reason why every single musician will say, practice your scales. It's not because we enjoy hearing that over and over and over, but scales are the foundation, the building blocks to like fills and solos and creating your melodies. But they're also incredibly helpful in creating like passing notes to create more movement within your chords or starting to create new chords in general. So for example, again, a C scale, C, F, and G. I can add little fills like that's all, you know, again, fills we can add, we can do solos. It's all based upon scales. And not only that, the thousands of hours that you can sink into scales means that you're getting really familiar of how each fret feels, all these different, how each finger feels on each note. But you're working on being a clean player, you're working on timing. Again, the scales are like the basic warm-ups that you would do for anything like your free throws in basketball or your putts in golf, right? Just over and over and over again. But it helps you with everything that you do on the ukulele, so that we can't stress scales enough. And even there, I can add different voicings with notes in my scale, like
and he's just adding scale notes to the chords.
So we'll get to another workshop later this year where we really hone in on just what to do with scales. But again, right now, the main thing is just practice them as much as you can, even if it's just 2 minutes, 10 times a day throughout the day, like while your coffee is getting heated or commercial comes on, you know, pick up your ukulele and just, if you don't know what to practice, default to scales. Promise you it's worth it.
Yes, absolutely. And then Sarita actually had a question on for if working on a blues song, is it okay to do the same thing with your blues scales up and down the neck? Yes, absolutely. Please, any scale that you are any scale that's out there, or if you're working on minors, practice those minor scales. Practice with your metronome or that playback. And also for blues, sometimes actually playing a major scale or a major. Well, you know what, Sarita, I'll send you a separate note because there's a couple different things where you add the sixth note in the scale, and it usually sounds really, really nice instead of playing your blues scale. But we'll talk about that later. But there's many movable scales on the ukulele. This is just one of them. So just keep that in mind when you're like, well, I don't want to play G way up here. Well, there is another one that you could play that's down here. Just keep that in mind. But this particular movable scale is handy, and those of you that purchase the Scholar packet will have a use for this scale for there's a section where I go over playing chord tones, and I put it in this position specifically so you can practice using that position for many of those chord tones. So those of you who are like, what is the Scholar Packet? We have our standard packet, which is what we're looking at now. The Scholar Packet has some extra warm-up exercises, including going over, including backing tracks for the song Wild World, and backing tracks in various keys of a popular progression, a 1-6-2-5 progression, where you can practice various ideas that I discuss in a mini lesson that those folks have access to. If you want to upgrade your packet, you can always email us, but let's move on. Wild World. Let's actually get to the song that we're going to practice some stuff on today. So here we've got, I laid out just, I like looking at songs in measures. It's just a lot easier to tell what's going on versus looking at it with like your lyrics and stuff. So looking at your intro versus /outro, that's the main progression of the song. Let's just go through and just play that main progression a little bit, just so that we've kind of are grounding ourselves in the tune. Give me one quick second. 2, 3, 4, A minor, D7, and then G, C major, and then F, D minor, and then E7 for 4. Again, A minor, D7, and G, C major 7, and F, D minor, E7. So watch my hand here. I have A minor flattened to D7, right? Then the G, lift up 2 fingers and I'm there. And F is a hop, add a friend, and E7. Now that I lost everything to you, you say you want to start something new, and it's breaking my heart you're leaving. Baby, I'm grieving again. If you wanna leave, take good care. Hope you got a lot of nice things to wear. But then remember, and we're gonna stop here for a second, because actually this is the transition to the chorus. Notice on the handout right next to me, on that second line, you have E7, and it's this random measure of 2-4, meaning that you play E7 twice. And then G7 for 4 beats. It goes back to 4/4 time before it goes into the chorus. And the chorus is pretty easy. C, G, and F, a whole bunch. And at the very end, that last measure of our chorus section, it's 2 beats of C, 1 beat of D minor, 1 beat of E7. I wrote what beat number it was. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go through and play that transition to chorus and take us into one of the choruses, and then we'll move on and start adding stuff to this song. So transition to chorus. A minor, but I leave, take good care. Hope you got a lot of nice things to wear. There's a lot of things, 2 beats, bad out, so bad out. G7 there, 2, 3, 4, and C. Ooh, baby, baby, it's a wild world. Do 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 do. I've always I've just been trying to smile. Da 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 da. C. Ooh, baby, baby, it's a wild world. Ba da 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 da. But I always remember you. 2 beats like a child, 1 beat, and then back to the main. A minor to D7, then G, and C major 7, and then to F, D minor, and E7 for 4 beats, etc. Okay, so I sang a couple of the riffs that those of you who joined us for the Riffs and Licks workshop, for the Scholar Packet of that, we actually taught 2 of the riffs, but we're actually going to add more than just that to this workshop. So moving forward, thinking about your goal. Some people said, oh, I really want to work on like my chord substitutions. So let's take a look. I have 2 different versions of this for you. So you'll notice in the top one, I'm using A minor 7 instead of an A minor, and I'm going to use a slightly different D7. And then instead of a G, I'm using G major 7, and C major 7 stayed the same. And instead of F, I'm playing F major 7. And then instead of D minor 7. And then I decided to get extra fancy and add E9 instead of E7. Now I'm doing this because in order for you to be able to understand how those chords sound to your ear, you have to practice them. And so one of the best ways to practice them is take a song you might already know really well and switch things up. Change all your major chords to major 7 just to see how they sound. Or maybe you don't want to go that far. You just want to make them all major 6s. Try it. Anytime you have a minor, play minor 7. Test out minor 6 chords. See how they sound to you. If there's a dominant 7 chord, play a dominant 9 chord instead, which is what I did for that E7. Or play that chord in another position on your instrument, which I'll also get to underneath. But in doing this, you'll hear how it changes things slightly and just gives a little bit more color. Now, you might not want that much color in the song, depending on it. So let's give it a try. I've given us an easy A minor 7. You might have noticed. It looks like G minor. And actually, could we do a close-up? So this one here, it looks like G minor, but I've moved it up 1, 2 frets. And that's a beautiful A minor 7. And then moving down to my D7, you'll notice that, again, thinking about chord transitions is very important and something you should think about in your practice. This, I just move it down and then I add a friend. And now I'm at that D7 there. For G major 7, I actually use my middle finger because it's kind of already there. And then C major 7, I could switch to this if I wanted. So I have these 2 fingers available if I wanted to. Actually, no, that's probably not what I would do. I'd probably just move this guy over. And then for F major 7, I am going to have to make a bit of a leap, but I'm going to use these 2 fingers specifically, my middle and my ring, because those 2 fingers slide down to that 2nd fret. And then I add 2 fingers for that D minor 7, and then E9 looks like this. Or I could play E7 if I'd prefer it.
And can you actually show what happens if you try the F major 7 with your index and middle, and how it touches?
Okay. So if you do this, for me, it makes the chord transition really, really hard. And also, you'll notice too, if you're really palming the uke, it can also mute. So you'll notice that when I'm holding this, hold on, let me actually get back in that position again so it feels more natural. Oh yeah. So here, I actually have it resting, but it's resting further back into my hand. Notice how where my thumb is at. I'm gonna kind of, so notice where I'm resting. It's way in the back, because if I do this, I'm gonna mute my strings, okay? So if you have to play, for some reason, if you need to like do something up here, then I would hold F major 7 like this if I know I need to transfer to something up here. But if I know I'm going down, I'm going to use these 2. Plus, it's going to be, generally, this is cleaner sounding. So let's go through and just play this section. So we have A minor, La La D7, and then major G. Then you've got C major and jump to F major, move down to D minor, and then E9 or 7 for 4 beats. Let's do it one more time. A minor, and then to D7 and G major 7, and then C major to F major 7, and then D minor, and then E7 or 9. It doesn't matter to me. Nice, yeah? Like it just has a different sound. La 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 la. Okay. We can also try it in another position. There's an A minor 7 that's listed there. It might be hard to see on your screen, so I will draw. This is supposed to be a 5. You're on the 5th fret. Same here, 5. 5th fret here for A minor 7, 5, 7, 5, 7. And then I'm barring and playing a D7, which is barring the 5th fret, 5, 6, 5, 5. And then I've got a G6, which should look like that D minor 7 chord, but moved up 2 frets. And then I move to a C major 7, like this. So going from that G6, my ring finger actually stays on the fret that it was already on. This is my anchor, is that ring finger. You might find in your practice that you need to actually hone in on keeping that finger down so you don't lift him up. Lift up everybody, put him down. Lift up everybody, except the ring. Because your ring is probably a finger that's not used to being an anchor, so you might have to actually practice this transition a little bit. Back to the C major 7. And then I'm going to play F add 9 as a new substitution to try, then D minor 7, and then my E9. The thing that's fun about this is I'm seeing if I can create a cascading motion with this on my A string. So I have the A minor 7, 5th fret bar D7, G6, C major, and then F. Then I'm kind of going back up, aiming for that E7 or 9. Let's try it again. Jump up. A minor, then D7, G6 is next. Then C major 7, and then F major, or F add 9. D minor 7, and then E9. A minor, D7, and then G6. C major 7, and then F add 9. D minor and E9. 2, 3, and 4. There. Nice. So with this, and I think I'm done with the close-up for now. Thanks, Craig. So with that, you can kind of hear it creates different things. So those of you that want to kind of practice substitutions, but keep them down here where they're a little easier, that top line is perfect. And if you want to try to add movement and move things around on your fretboard, try that second line. And try it in songs you already know and love. One thing I like about using these kinds of voicings is it allows you to have a different note on each string. So the only one that's a little different is that first D7. There's actually 2 A notes happening in that D7. But I've got a picking pattern underneath. And when I'm learning picking patterns, I like to work on them with open strings and no chords at first, because you really want to make sure that you get the pattern down correctly first. So for me, and then this one, I gave you a couple of different options as far as how to play it, where you've got thumb and index only that you could use for your picking. So that would be C string, E string, and then G string, A string. So 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. So you could do it this way. Or maybe you want to use 3 fingers like thumb, index, thumb, middle, thumb, index, thumb, middle. So only your thumb is having to traverse 2 strings, right? Or you might do what I tend to do, which is 1 finger per string, which means I'm actually going to use my index, middle, thumb, ring. So you're using 4 fingers. Just inside, outside is how an easy way to remember this. And if I wanted to, I'll play the top line. So I have inside. Sorry, I messed up. Okay, let's try again. And actually, I might use the 3-finger method. You got a weird double note there. Oh, that also let you know if something's not clean. So then it's like, I need to work on that. That's something to practice. Yes, Craig.
Okay, so one quick thing about that E9. If you're coming from that D minor 7, pinky is going to be your new anchor. You're going to slide down. You can use all 4 fingers.
Ooh.
So again, D minor 7, slide down with the pinky, flip these guys for the E9. And again, what's nice about, I know some people like that the having the root for the E7 in there. So one thing you can do is use it again as a more passing note. So you can do from the D minor 7, pinky down, E9 to E7. So it has a nice resolve there as well. So again, a lot of these voicings that Sarah chose were just to give you more options to play with, even though sometimes your ear might want that E7.
And also the concept of using substitution chords we've talked about in multiple live streams. So you can always go back in our live stream playlist and find lots of this. If you're like, wait, I want to learn, why would you substitute that? We have that. So that's that picking pattern that you could use if you wanted to. I probably would use a different voicing for D7. I'd probably use the bar one so that I have different notes. So that would be, right? I think that sounds a little bit better. But I'm going to go ahead and move forward because, again, this is just different ideas and different picking patterns that you could try.
Yeah, and there was a question about low G versus high G on this particular pattern.
You know what? You could, either is fine for these picking patterns, quite honestly. If you wanted to, you could actually, so I'm starting on my lowest note when I'm doing this pattern. So if I wanted to, let me see, this might not be in tune.
Close enough.
Close enough. I could actually do outside. I could do, because that's basically what I'm doing is playing the notes linearly, but with a different pattern. But I could do, or I could do, no, so I just did that. So I'd probably start with the G. So it's outside, inside, outside, inside, outside, inside for the low G. So you start on your lowest note. And good thing I just happen to have that uke lying around. So excellent question. And also Artist Work students, you can do follow-up videos, video exchanges with us if you are wanting to actually show us practicing
some people
these.
are actually saying they're going to bring it up during the February 5th Zoom.
Ooh, I'm so excited. I can't wait to, yeah, awesome. So this next one that we're going to do is going to be, I call it inside pluck and, because that helps me remember how to play it. Okay. A lot of times when I name my picking patterns, it's either like the feeling it gives me, like bossa picking pattern, or it's like a phrase so I can remember how to play it. And so in this case, phrase so I can remember how to play it. Oh, somebody says, ooh, what uke was that? That's actually just a stock model. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, we're using it to test our new.
That's the low G.
Some of our different string sets.
And also so that I can have low G uke when students submit videos on low G. We have a instrument finally that's strung up just for that purpose. But yeah, it's a really nice stock model of Cornelia. So this pattern, I'm starting on my C string, and it's inside. And then I'm actually plucking the two outside strings and then going to the E string. So you have a couple different ways you could do it. You could do it with your thumb inside with thumb and index, and then thumb and middle, and then index. Again, that's inside, pluck, and then I'd probably switch to my index there for plucking the E. Or you could do all four strings, inside, pluck, which is what I tend to do. Okay, so this I would probably use for the intro of the song, perhaps. And if I was to play the top line, I find I don't like it as much, but let's go through and try it. So inside, pluck, and D7, and then the G, C major 7, so each chord gets, and then F, D minor, E7. Let's try it one more time, that top line. A minor, D7, G, C major, and F, D minor, E7. For me, I don't like how it sounds as much because I have 2 A's happening here. And then again, for my F chord, I have 2 A's happening, and same with my D minor. But if I use the bottom line, it would sound like this. So I have A minor 7, that's not a typo. I chose to use all open strings, but you could use this one if you wanted. So let's try it again, but with the bottom line. Inside pluck and inside pluck and inside pluck and inside pluck. F add 9 to get rid of that A on the G string. Then D minor 7, E7, A minor, la 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 I can get into strumming the song when I'm singing it. So I might use this as like an intro or an outro, but I like this kind of pattern, and I tend to do it with all 4 fingers, but you can kind of pick it however you'd like. But just kind of keep that in mind. When you're practicing picking patterns, hone in on how you're going to pick it. Make a conscious choice. That way you can practice consistently. The thing that I find that happens so often with students with their picking is they don't consciously make a choice on exactly what fingers are assigned to what strings. So then they mess up their pattern, or they're just inconsistent and have inconsistent tone because they're not always using the same fingers for it. And yes, you want to be able to play maybe the same pattern a couple different ways, but you need to be able to practice it one way and one way cleanly first before you can alter and change it. That way you'll just be more successful. Also, working one hand at a time, as I did but with the first pattern, all open strings, and just work on the picking itself. Then you can start adding chords to it. The other thing also to keep in mind is don't let your hand hop like this. A lot of times we'll see people who they'll go through, and I'm going to over exaggerate. Your hand doesn't need to move. Look at mine. It's like barely moving. Right? So that's something to really think about as you want to. I practiced in front of a mirror. I think that's super helpful. Or film yourself practicing. But watching this hand and making sure it's as gentle and as soft as possible on the strings. But don't feel you need to reach under them and pull the strings. You're really just very gently letting your finger rake across the string. Okay, that's when you're practicing picking, things to think about. Single notes and riffs. We talked about scales earlier, and now we're actually going to use one. So exploring riffs on the ukulele, I actually have that workshop listed. That's a hot link if you want to go back and check it out. And if you have the packet for it, definitely, we have the packets for sale. But if you took the class and you're like, oh yeah, go back and check that class out and pull out your old packets. So for this, we have our C scale. Now you'll notice that this, how I've written it, should remind you of that movable scale, right? You can see how I have the 1 written here, but it's open, right? If I was to play it like this, it should remind you of that movable scale. However, I use different fingers where index is in charge of 1, this is 2, 3, and 4, right? So on my C string, it's just open and 2. The next string, real quickly, is just open, 1, and 3. Open, 1, 3. This should sound familiar. Open, 2, 3 is the next string. Open, 2, 3. So let's go through and play it forward. Open, 2, open, 1, 3. Open, 2, 3. Let's play it backwards. 3, 2, open, 3, 1, open, 2, open. Let's play it backwards again. 3, 2, open, 3, 1, open, 2, open. Again, 3, 2, open, 3, 1, open, 2, open. Hold on. What if I was to play the chorus real quick? Ooh, baby, baby, it's a wild. And then I threw in, that's my scale, but backwards. Cat Stevens. So this song, the very first riff that is very iconic that people know, is your C scale backwards. Remember Craig talked about the importance of scales? This is a very good reason as to why it's super important. It's like the first lick in the song. So let's try it a little bit slower. Backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So I'm going to play the chords. You come in on the riff. I'll come in with you on the riff. So I have, ooh, baby, baby, it's a wild world. Here it is. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. One more time, and then we'll move on to the next riff. Ooh, baby, baby, it's a wild world. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Even if you can't play it right this second in time with me, is it still a doable idea with a little bit of, practice? I think so. Now there's one more riff that also utilizes the C scale, or notes found within the C scale, and that is the second one that you hear in the chorus. Da 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 da. Now on our ukulele, we're gonna have to play it with a high G uke at any rate. We need to play it an octave higher than it is in the song itself. Because by the way, we're actually playing the song in the key that's written in. So you can practice all this stuff with the recording if you feel you can play it that fast. Because I think it's around 80 beats per minute. So we have eighth notes again. What, Craig? Sorry. No. So we have 3, 3, that third fret, and then open A, and then third fret. And that's 3 times. And then open A. So you're just playing G, G, A, C, 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 A, G. That's all that's being played. If you play low G, you can actually utilize your open G string. And you're actually playing open C. Oh. Hey, let me do this. Open. You can actually play it down there. So it's open 2 and open C for low G, folks. Okay, so with this one, 2, 3, 4. Try it again with me. 1, 2, 3. One more time, I messed up. Now the thing about this one is you can decide picking wise, are you using just one finger? Are you going to alternate fingers, or these 2 fingers for the... Or are you going to do where I'm alternating these 2 or just one finger? Up to you how it is you want to do it. Again, things that you should think about when you're going to be practicing is what sound do you like, what tone do you like? I tend to use multiple fingers for this, especially because it's a bit faster. So this goes, so after I've done, ooh, baby, baby, it's a wild C scale. Da 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 da, just upon a smile. Here. That's where that riff ends up heading, or ends up being, is at the end of that phrase. So I'm gonna try to play it slowly, and let's go through and we'll play both. You can focus on one. If you're like, I'm not gonna do the scale, I wanna just focus on this second one.
We're gonna give you guys 45 seconds to practice.
Oh, okay.
Before we do that. And I'm gonna bring up some other questions that we had.
Okay, so practice your riffs while we...
One great thing that was brought up is talking about where we're strumming and picking. And again, strumming wise, if we want that really nice mellow sound, it's going to be typically around here compared to, see how much more mellow that is? So for strumming here, that means when we pluck, when we bring up, if we can kind of pluck like this, but not only does the fretboard tend to get in the way a little bit, But if we want a really nice, strong kind of follow through for some of those pickings, especially for rolls like this, we want to bring our fingers up a little bit so that we can really traverse those strings and have that clearance. But that does mean that our hand will then start to go over the sound hole a little bit more. So that's when you notice Sarah going over the sound hole a little bit more for those picking. So again, it's about tone, it's about you know, where you're coming from, the context, but you'll see us manipulate where we're strumming or picking depending on what we want. So that was a really good observation. Lori had a great thing about doing scales. It's easier where the frets are nice and big, but when you get up here, let's say you wanted to do that riff, that C scale there, I'm not going to fit all 4 up there. So what I'll probably do is use my ring for my big stretch as if it was my pinky, and my middle will alternate between those 2 frets. So for this one, that's exactly what I do instead of trying to use my pinky and get in all the way up here. So again, depends on context, but if you don't have the room, don't be afraid to use different fingers, especially when you're up on the higher frets when they're very, very tiny.
So somebody had asked about Logi. I wrote it on underneath in red because it makes sense to go ahead and just stick it on the tablature, but it's in red. So if you play Logi, please feel free to just add that to your page so that you can play that, because it sounds that riff sounds better on Logi. I'm not gonna lie, but you can still play it on your high G ukulele. And then yes, you could use pull-offs if you were wanting to practice pull-offs or hammer-ons. You certainly could, especially for going backward on your scale, right? Like I could do that if I wanted to, yes. I like the sound, for me personally, the tone that I get with picking each one, I prefer for this particular song, but it's a great way to practice. Again, this is all about practice. It's a great way to practice that skill of pulling off or hammering on. So yes. Now this next phrase that I'm gonna show you, to me, I think is the hardest because it's so, it's just a lot of movement. So let me scoot this up so you can see it a little better. So it's this D minor 7 and E7. So there's 2 things going on here. You're going to be playing a D minor 7 instead of a D minor. And then you're going to move up to the E7, which is on the next E7. So notice what I'm doing here is I've got D minor 7, then I flatten this and I move it up to the 4th fret and then add a finger to the 5th fret. So for practicing the transition, again, it's just here, move up, again, move down, D minor, scoot up, E7, move it back down, E, D minor, because these are the ones that are just 1 beat each. Then we're actually going to utilize that picking pattern that we first did, inside, outside, inside, outside. Let's do it slowly with D minor 7. Inside, outside, inside, outside. So you can see that if you have not ever played D minor 7 to this E7 before, that is actually going to be really tricky, which is why you should practice your fretting hand first, really getting comfortable with this before we really add it together. For the sake of this workshop, I'm going to make us put them together. So let's do it one more time. 2, 3, 4. Inside, outside, inside, outside. Inside, outside, move up. Inside, outside. One more time. Move it up. Again, last time. So this is us actually using one of our patterns. And this is what is played just before going to the chorus. So, or just before going back to the verse, out of the chorus, excuse me. And I'll go through and play it all for you. Don't worry. Craig had a question.
Now for the you mentioned you probably used multiple fingers.
Yep.
Can we showcase that, because someone had a question on that? And do you end up with a finger on the next string, or do you pull the string up? We'll do a close up.
Oh, okay. So I'm doing.
So still turn so we can see your right hand. Yeah.
Okay.
A little bit slower.
So I start with my index typically for myself. You could also do thumb like that, but I tend to play index, middle, index, middle, index, middle, index, middle. So I'm alternating the whole time with it. If I switch strings, I don't start back with my index again. So that way it's a smooth continuation with my fingers. Excellent question, because it's actually kind of tricky to do that. And it takes practice. So just something to think about. And then actually a great way of practicing that is playing the full scale itself. And doing it that way. And that's one of the C scale variations we talk about with double picking, but using 2 fingers instead of the thumb in our Artist Works lessons. All right, so I'm gonna move on to the last thing, because we're running out of time. I wanna make sure I can play all of it for you. Now, this is something that Craig actually talks more about a little bit in the Scholar packet. He added this little extra nugget where you can play scales where you harmonize your scales a little bit. So you can add an extra note. When you hear stringed instruments do this, like violins and cellos and things, they call it double stops. But you're playing the scale notes, but you're playing like a third above it, as usually the most common one. You can also play like the 5th above it too, but etc. But for this one, we're playing in thirds, and there's one last riff that that happens on the piano that we are going to try to emulate in this song. But let's learn that scale first. We've got 2 open strings in the middle. Next, you're going to do the 2nd fret and the 1st fret. And again, it's just the middle strings. So let's just practice open strings and then 2 fingers next to each other. Back to open, 2 fingers next to each other. Back to open, 2 fingers next to each other. Take these 2 fingers, I call this a part. Take these 2 fingers, move them up to the 3rd and the 5th fret. 3rd and the 4th fret. Again, open, 1st, move up to the 3. Again, open. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my 5th fret with my middle and add together on the 5th fret my ring. Let's practice that again. Open, 3rd fret, 5th fret together. Again, open, together, 3rd fret, 5th fret together, and then 7th fret, move those up, still together. Again, open, 3rd, 5th together, still together. Ooh. Next, we're going to go to the 8th fret, but it's apart. So you're going to go back, scoot up your middle finger to 9, and your index comes down onto 8. Let's practice going from 7 to 9 and 8. Back to 7s, 9 and 8. Back to 7s, 9 and 8. Back to 7s, 9 and 8. I messed up. All right, and then move on to 10 and 11, which is a dot on with your index, and then together on 12. All right, let's try the whole thing. Opens, 1, move up to 3, together on 5, together on 7, apart on 8, apart on 10, together on 12. Then try backwards. 12, 11 and 10, 9 and 8, 7s, 5s, 4 and 3, 2 and 1, open. Yeah, that sounds so beautiful. Yay! Was that Rugrats? Something like that, right, Craig? Did you ever watch that show?
Nah,
Do 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 do. Anyway, sorry.
I wasn't a very big Nickelodeon fan.
Oh, I loved Nickelodeon. But all right, anyway, that's besides the point. So now let's look, since we're still on a close-up, which is great, I want us to look at this crazy riff here. It starts on the 7th fret. Now, you'll notice that it's not 8th notes anymore. It's 16th notes. So it's really fast. I tend to just pick it quickly, or yeah. So we have one E and A on the 7th fret, move down to the 5th fret, 2 E and A, and then move down to 3 and 4, or 4 and 3, 3 E and A, and then move it down to 1, 4 E and A. Let's try it again, but without those breaks. 2, 3, 4, 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 4 E and A minor, no, C, excuse me. This is the riff that's right before your chorus. So we'll end on a C. 7th fret again. 2, 3, 4, 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 4 E and A, C. 2, 3, reset. 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 4 E and A, C. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 4 E and A, C. Because that's actually the speed it will probably be. Okay? Now, before I move on to that last bit, let's see, can we go back to a regular view? Before I move on to that last bit, so originally the workshop was actually going to stop here on this. What I've given you here is this little bonus thing that I'll play at the very end, because what I want to do right now is actually play through a verse and a chorus and throw in these different things. I am going to mess up, and I am ready for that, okay? Because, again, it takes practice. So I'm going to start with my A minor. If you want, you can scroll up. You could always, actually, I'll do that. I'll go back to our original up here so that we've got the chords, and I'll tell you where I'm at, and I'll tell you what I'm trying to throw in so that you can go back and practice on your own. And if you have the Scholar Packet, you can practice with the playback tracks. 2, 3, 4, and now that I've lost everything to you, you say you want to start something new, and it's breaking my heart you're leaving. Now we're doing the transition to chorus. But if you want to leave, take good care. Hope you got a lot of nice things to wear, but a lot of nice things to be turned bad out there. One, da 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 da. Oh, I messed up. See, I knew I would. Let's try it one more time. My apologies. Let's do the A minor. I'm so used to doing it faster. Transition to the chorus. But if you wanna leave, take good care. Hope you got a lot of nice things to wear, but then a lot of nice things turn bad out there. And then C. Ooh, baby, baby, it's a wild backwards riff. It's hard to get by just upon a smile. And the one here with a ooh, baby, baby, it's a wild. It's C scale backward. I'll always remember you. Here's the hard, like a child. Here we go, inside, outside. I know I've seen a lot of what the world can do, etc. So you can kind of see, so what happens is, instead of playing that G7 for 4 beats, you are playing this riff. And then go into the chorus. Ooh, baby, baby, it's a wild. Here's your first riff. G, da, 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 da. And then the C chord, 1, 2, the next riff. Ooh, baby, baby, it's a 1, 2, C scale backward. Da 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 da. 2 beats of C, 1, 2. Then your D minor. There you go. So with that D minor 7 to E7, I think is the hardest because you've got to do this quickly. And then jump down to A minor. Or maybe if you're up here, you could switch to that. Or you could switch to that one too. That is also an option for you. You could also do open strings, because that's also A minor 7. So if I did that, so you know I've heard a lot of what the world, you can absolutely do that as well if you're just trying to make it through the song. But all of those different elements that we did, there's a lot that you need to practice in order to get it to sound clean, right? We've gone through a variety of picking patterns. We've gone through some different chord substitution ideas. And we've added in single note picking, all based off of scales. And then, of course, the other important thing is practice this with a metronome, just to ensure that you don't make mistakes like I did earlier when I first tried to play that riff with the 16th notes. So I'm going to actually do a highlight here. Where's my little highlighter? So one of the riffs is here. This is the 16th note one. One of them, the C scale backwards, is here. And then the, I don't know what to call it, da 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 da. I guess riff number 2 is here. And then this part that I just circled is that inside outside, where you're moving to the 2 different chords. And those are what we have added to the song, and you can actually play it with the recording and you'll match some of the stuff that they actually do in the recording.
Okay, and a couple tiny little things. Again, knowing your voice tunes makes a big difference. For example, we have that nice, D minor to the E7, but you can also do a D minor 7 here on the 5th fret, and then slide it down to that E7 there. So like, it has a slightly different feel going down in pitch instead of walking up. So again, this is why we say, get off the first 3 frets, because now you have so many more options to play with. Again, you can have more tools in your belt to really create your own version of these. The other main thing that I would like to mention for a big takeaway for this workshop is, again, the main issue for a lot of people when you're messing up or you're having mistakes is typically because you're not 100% comfortable with the song, whether you're playing it or the lyrics. So part of it is taking the time to really memorize that bass arrangement. You can't focus on your performance or your nuance in your vocals or your fills and whatnot if the structure, if the foundation isn't set. So you have to have that down first. But we all want to jump ahead, right? But again, don't be afraid of taking the time to go back and really seeing, hey, can I play the song straight without making mistakes? Because then you can focus on the other stuff. Now, when we are making mistakes in that foundation, typically that falls into a couple different things. One is a hard chord shape, like a B flat, So that means we gotta work on that shape if that's giving you trouble. Or it's a transition. Like, for example, again, what was it, going from that D minor 7 to the E7? Or the
tricky.
E9. It's tricky. Yeah. But if you're always flubbing that, or that's consistently making a mistake, you have to iron that out, so then you can, again, focus on the performance as a whole, or you can add other things to it. But again, it's making sure that you can catch yourself when those tricky parts happen or when you're stumbling, because then once you can iron that out, everything then opens up and you're less stressed. But don't be afraid, again, to focus on whether it's a bar chord or, again, a transition. Take the time to really dial that in first. And once you have that down, then it's there for every song that you play that has that chord shape or that transition. So that's what I mean by really taking the time and getting that foundation set, because everything will then open up for you.
I really hope that in this lesson that we gave you a gentle reminder and inspired you to practice your scales, because they are important, and there's ways that you can practice them to make them fun and to make it a more enjoyable experience, knowing that you're going to be able to use them in songs, either as riffs or for creating melodies or finding melodies, So I hope that that's something that we were able to do for you today. And at the very end of the packet, all I did there was give you guys a sort of chord melody-esque kind of way of doing the la-las for the song. But that, and do you want me to play through it real quick, Craig? Just the thing at the bottom of that page.
Sure.
Just real fast. I'll play through it real quick. So I'm at the very bottom. Oh, there we go. I'll do this real quick. Oops, let me do this. Add a page. That way I can scroll up. There we go. So here I've got and then I strum up because I want this melody note. I'll play it one more time and then you can just practice on your own. You'll notice there's strums and single notes. Okay, so that way you have it, you can look at it and reference it. I have the chord diagrams written there, but I had a feeling I wouldn't be able to get into the nitty gritty of it. But you have a video of it, you can always go back and watch it and go through it with me.
Yeah, huge thank you for you guys for your support. As
Yes.
always, we really can't do this without you guys in that sense. And again, you know, keeping true to our vision of keeping these workshops free for everyone. We can't thank you guys enough for those who help support, and even just joining us here or sharing the workshops.
Yeah.
Helps so much. So thank you. Yeah, again, we have so many things in the works that will slowly unveil throughout the year, especially when, again, because Cameron is with his grandparents right now. We feel like we should. This is a recent photo of Cameron and Sarah. He's getting so big. He just turned
3. You have a 3-year-old.
And we thank you guys so much for a lot of parenting tips as well. But it's been so much fun. But we are eager to kind of get back to work like full time in the sense of being able to create, and there's a lot we still want to do. So
yes,
we're excited.
But don't forget, tomorrow you can spend some more time with us. Join in the live chat so that you can win some free goodies from our sponsors for our backyard concerts featuring Corey Fujimoto and Kale Gamiao. Coming up, we also have Brittany Paiva. And we have... Oh, I wasn't? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Oh, well, sorry. I'm not going to say the other one because we've actually already filmed. It's because we've already filmed 2 of them that I'm like, oh, sorry, Craig. But thank you guys so much for joining us. It is just our absolute pleasure, as always, to get to help you on your ukulele journey.
Again, Happy New Year. And again, if there are still some goals, write in the comments. If you're still watching the replay or in the live chat right now, write in the comments on some things we missed. If there's enough of them, I'll do a little follow-up video and add some suggestions that we have to help you get where you want to be on your ukulele journey. So thank you guys so much. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. Aloha.
Yay.
Let's see. Where is my arrow? There we go.